Alrighty, so it's an interesting day in the world of Trench Crusade as the Trench Crusade community license has finally arrived. This has been a very long time coming and will hopefully solve a lot of problems and friction that currently exists between certain parts of the community and Factory Fortress who run Trench Crusade. Now, I literally just went onto the site, had a peek, haven't read through it or anything like that, so let's do it together. Today we're pleased to officially launch the Trench Crusade Community License. What does that mean to you? To put it simply, these are the rules that dictate and clarify what you can and cannot do with the Trench Crusade IP, including the art, miniatures, and other intellectual property, in terms of projects that are distributed in any way, commercial or otherwise. Please note that these rules do not apply to personal projects that are not distributed, such as kit bashes or models sculpted for your own personal use. It also only applies to projects that aim to be within the Trench Crusade space. We obviously do not own the concept of alternative World War I settings. In addition, we are launching the Compatible with Trench Crusade license, which will allow creators to apply to have their creations approved for distribution and marketed with our seal of approval, ultimately giving more choice to the community. This post has been a long time coming. We originally talked about it during the Kickstarter and have been working on it since early last year. If it has taken this long to come together, it's not just because we had to prioritize other tasks. We've had to adapt it multiple times due to both the growth of the game and IP, but also in response to what some have done with our IP in the past year. First, we would like to say that we very carefully considered the creation of these rules. Once we are talking about a game of toy soldiers, we now have to take the matter of our IP and its stewardship very seriously, as Trench Crusade represents the livelihoods of quite a few people, both inside and outside Factory Fortress. Okay, so before we dig into it too far, I do want to just very quickly say, with regards to the Compatible with Trench Crusade license, I believe that wording, now I believe there's some blame to go around on both sides of this. I believe the wording was earnest at the time, but potentially poorly thought out. Compatible with Trench Crusade, you can't, it's just the kind of words I would use to describe almost anything. This paint is compatible with that wall, that kind of thing. So I think that has led definitely to certain problems. And I will also say there is 100% people who make miniatures, who wait for art to appear online that has anything to do with Trench Crusade, and then bust their balls to make that as quick as possible and then slap it up under compatible with Trench Crusade, even though they fucking know that Factory Fortress was planning on having that as a kind of an official level, if you would, of licensing. So it's kind of, in a way, a poorly thought out phrase, just from the point of view of compatible with Trench Crusade is like a kind of an awkward phrase. And I kind of really fucking wish I had actually thought to express that to the team much, much earlier than doing it right now, like I'm some kind of fucking 2020 hindsight genius. But it is what it is. It's just something that I've been rolling around in my head a lot over the last few months. Okay, our stance towards community content. We are very aware of how much effort some people are putting into creating their own content destined for Trench Crusade. So it's important that we clarify rules and set expectations here and now. This article aims to clarify our official and honest position regarding community content. We have no issues with other creators making money off of Trench Crusade. We love all the crazy stuff our community comes up with, and we honestly find it cool that our creation can support others. However, this cannot be to the detriment of Factory Fortress, our team, and our livelihoods. Trench Crusade is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that represents the income and careers of our team. We're sure you can understand that we do need to put our business affairs first. Now, ultimately, this is true. How many games have you seen taking off the way that Trench Crusade has taken off? The idea of them just like not needing to care about how all this stuff plays out or not having to worry about what is done with the various elements of their IP is lunacy. And anybody sitting there thinking that they just shouldn't give a shit or should just be like completely laissez-faire about it are absolute lunatics. So I just thought I would throw that out there right here, because I've seen some people expressing on the internet, it's like, oh, you can't like own art, man. Of fucking course you can. You make the art, you own that shit. Come on, be fucking serious. Okay. We still want to maintain our community-focused approach and do something that very few wargames have done before. In spite of the serious tone of this text, which is necessary to underscore how seriously we take this, we want you all to know that we're very pleased to be releasing this license. We've worked closely with legal counsel and brand protection consultants to create balanced rules to keep our IP safe, while also allowing independent creators to operate with a clear view of what is allowed and what isn't. We also expect to spend even more time helping creators manage the compliance of their own projects through means like the compatible with Trench Crusade license. This is one of our commitments to you, our community. This commitment must go both ways, or it will not work in the long term. Valid. We have to work with them on this, and I say that as somebody who is working on my own things within the world of Trench Crusade, who largely exists as an entity or element of the size that I am on YouTube because of the goodwill and willingness of Mike and Tomas and everybody at Factory Fortress for just allowing me to fuck around the way I fucked around with Trench Crusade. And I've always tried to do that respectfully. And when it came to the point where I was going to be doing something that was more than just stories, you can bet your ass I've been sitting here waiting for this fucking license to drop. So before we go into the details, we would like to thank all the creators who have previously reached out for clarification and have played by the rules. This is your moment, and we're truly excited to see all the crazy stuff you come up with. Okay, let's actually get into the fucking meat here. Let's chew this sandwich. The rules are, in essence, what was announced in the original Kickstarter post, which, as a reminder, was only a draft. The core concept of our rules since the Kickstarter have always been, don't use our names, IP, or designs. That's the most basic element of anything in the world. I understand that people get super excited when they finish up their things and they pop them up online and all the rest of it. But you just can't sell something that's called a thing that somebody else has designed and owned. It's just not a doable thing. And I've noticed everybody has become very, very clever and smart and is now coming up with their own names for stuff. So well done. For everything else, common sense and general IP law would govern. But the time has come to more clearly codify the rules for community creations. This official license is worded to act as a legal document and has been adapted to cover the breadth of projects that we're now seeing, whether it be miniatures, fan art, fiction, gaming accessories, etc. That's actually a pretty valid point. There's probably a bunch of stuff occurring that they just didn't really imagine at the time. It also serves to provide clear guidance against the infractions we've witnessed over the past year. To give you some examples of the latter, general piracy. This refers to the sale of counterfeit versions of our STL files and physical prints. While we always knew this would happen, the success of Trench Crusade has taken piracy to unexpected proportions. Now that is really kind of funny because you will see just people selling like massive folders of STLs on random download sites for like $5-10, and you're like, what the fuck do you even think you're doing? Use of official designs, from selling complete sculpts of our official artwork or adapting official designs to another style. We've seen it all at this point. That is also pretty valid. I understand the desire to create something within the universe, but if your creation is basically just taking an official design and making that model like 1-1 to the art, that's pretty silly. I also feel like if you've gone to all the trouble to learn how to sculpt, you can do better. You know, you can reach into your own creativity and do better than simply taking another person's design and copying it 1-1. Like, trust yourself, for Christ's sake. And then misrepresentation. Certain creators have been using names and descriptions identical to our own products. Obviously, this leads to a lot of confusion amongst players over what is official and what is not. Valid point. Put all these together and you get the cases of the Maximilian class knight or the Prussian Stostruppen. The art and lore were originally revealed as a cool teaser of things to come, as we had done in the past. Sadly though, within the week, both of these had been copied and were already up for sale with identical unit names, the Trench Crusade name, and other copied features. A knock-on effect of this is that we are only now reveal new content when it is ready for sale by us. Yeah, like that's been pretty obvious, I would have thought, that the way that we're seeing things being revealed and the way that we're getting lore reveals has now like completely changed. And I think that sucks, to be honest. Whilst we very much enjoyed posting these teasers and all the excitement it generated, this is an example of the entire community paying for the sins of a small group of profiteers seeking to capitalize on the success of Trench Crusade while claiming to support it. We remain undeterred, however, and still want to push ahead with this for the sake of the community at large. Our community license revolves around two main principles: respect for the official material and representation. This is just one of those things where, unfortunately, when you grow up and start to understand how businesses work, it is an unfortunate side effect that a very small number of misbehaving people have a negative effect on almost everybody who wants to use a service. If you think about it logically, you're probably like super pissed off at 2FA and having to use auth programs and get sent messages to your email address to confirm it's really you trying to sign into your whatever accounts, right? That's probably something that grates on you a little bit. And why do I need to do this shit? You need to do that because 0.0000001% of people will try and fish information off somebody and steal their shit. And that's just unfortunately the way that it works. That tiny number of negative elements in something can unfortunately have a knock-on effect. My experience of the Trench Crusade community has been, I would say, a massive percentage of it, like 99% of it, are really nice, tremendously passionate, very respectful people who are just here to have fun and a good time and all the rest of it. But then you've got the people who unfortunately bring that kind of negative element to stuff. So it sucks, but it's there. Alrighty, official material. We shouldn't have to ask most of the players reading this, let alone professional creators, yet here we are. Please do not use official materials such as concept designs, art, miniatures, components, or products as the basis of your own creations. This means partially or wholly, and also includes adapting our designs to other styles. The core of this community license project is meant to allow people to create their own Trench Crusade adjacent content, not copy ours. Additionally, whilst we stand by the game being miniature agnostic, this is not intended as an invitation to copy our IP. So, embrace the world of counts as. Like, that's one of the things that I think is really very necessary. There's so many kind of fun design elements out there that you can do, that you can explore, that, no offense to the Factory Fortress team, it's just a size thing and a work scope thing they will never be able to do. They will never be able to sit there and think about what if you had a bunch of heretics from this tiny French town who were just all about wine. They literally worship wine. They're gluttonous winos. You know, that kind of stuff you can have a tremendous amount of fun with, and you can explore like fashion and aesthetic and military history and all that stuff in so many wild, interesting ways that the team just won't be able to do. We've seen it loads coming from the community. It's wonderful. Okay, representation. Whether inadvertently or purposefully, we've seen a lot of creators cross the line recently when it comes to naming and advertising their products. This goes from flat out calling their listings Trench Crusade unit name, faction name, to creating approximations of our logo or affixing compatible with like labels and icons to their images and descriptions, despite the latter being a previously announced program that has not been live until now, outside of a very limited number of exceptions. It's like I fucking talked about earlier, right? Just people kind of pull the piss a little bit, and you could see it happening real time. This has caused a lot of confusion about what is official amongst players. Many of you will be able to recognize an official Trench Crusade product from an unlicensed one. Not all buyers are as knowledgeable and frequently get caught up buying unofficial models and products, believing that they are official or licensed. Valid. Whilst creators have a right to fair use of our intellectual property, when that use deliberately or unintentionally causes confusion amongst buyers, causes reputational damage to us, directly competes with our own products or causes us harm, then that does not fall under fair use. Once again, we expect professional creators to know the difference. Valid. There's a degree of protecting your customer at play here, and that has to be done, right? People have to be able to know who they are buying things from and what they are buying. That is your right as a consumer. So I have some kind of specific stuff I want to talk about. I guess I'll talk about by the end. Compatible with Trench Crusade. This is the meat for me. Alongside this community license comes the Compatible with Trench Crusade license to support and promote creators who play by the rules and genuinely want to support the game and community. This is a separate agreement that must be applied for. It builds off of the main community license with a few additional stipulations. If accepted, it will allow you to advertise your creation as Trench Crusade compatible, which includes a set of logos you can use. Good. The license can be accessed via the community license page. Alright, we'll have a look. Please note that we expect an extremely high volume of submissions as existing creators seek to apply for their back catalogs. Yes, everybody who's been doing this the right way, all you people out there who have been properly developing your projects and putting in your work, and you're doing it in the dark, not out on social media, showing off all your stuff because you're feeling the same way that Factory Fortress is feeling, that if you put your designs out there, somebody else is just going to rip them. Now's your time, but be patient. Like, go get your license. You fucking deserve that shit. We will get to everyone as soon as we possibly can, but do expect a certain amount of delay to begin with. Additionally, we will only be going over these once every 1 to 2 weeks, as we have to prioritize other company tasks. Yes, it's highly unlikely they can hire a body to do this. This is more than likely being added to somebody's overall workload that these need to get checked by. So just keep that in mind. Compliance. Now that the proverbial line in the sand is drawn, we expect many creators will need to rework listings and rework or entirely remove certain designs. This, of course, can generally not be done overnight, and therefore there will be a grace period lasting 2 weeks. That could probably be a little longer. February 19th, 2026, to allow everyone to get their content in compliance with these rules. One of the reasons why I say just, assuming the best about people, one of the reasons why I say that could potentially be a little longer is simply the fact that a lot of the people who are doing these things and might have been on the odd side of the lines, they might not be necessarily full-timers. They might have jobs and families and things occurring. So I think a little longer than 2 weeks might have been necessary there. But that's just me. That's just my take. The rules should now be very clear about what is and isn't allowed, and coupled with common sense, it should be obvious which changes are required of you. If you find yourself thinking, I'm not sure if they'll accept this, then it's very likely that we won't. You can contact us via our website if you have questions concerning the viability of your project. For miniature projects specifically, you can apply for the Compatible with Trench Crusade license if you'd like definitive confirmation. But in this case, we recommend that you delist the item in question until we get back to you. As mentioned above, we expect a high volume of messages to begin with, so please understand that we may not be able to get back to you immediately. I would also add, do not expect perfect consistency about what does and doesn't land for a while, because they'll be defining it for themselves. You can literally only react to the things that you're seeing in front of you. You can't imagine every possibility of every iteration of everything to ever exist. It's not going to fucking happen. Alrighty, enforcement. Now for the least fun part of this entire subject. But we do need to talk about it. We do issue takedowns on infringing content and have been doing so for a year now. This is done via third-party IP protection service. We use this service because it would be impossible for us to do this ourselves. We had to issue almost 3,000 takedowns last year, so that's considerable volume of them, frankly, which is not something our team can handle unless we are to employ a fairly substantial in-house legal team. For the same reason, it is impossible for us to contact each seller individually to resolve the matter. To dispel any rumours, our partners use AI tools to track potential infringements. However, they are not enforced via AI. Everything is reviewed by an agent trained in our IP, and our team provides clarifications when needed. If takedowns were automated to target the use of the Trench Crusade name and the other official material, the aforementioned number would be much, much higher. Also, do not confuse the use of these tools by our partner with our opposition to the use of generative AI in creative and artistic tasks, to which we have been fully committed from the start. Additionally, we do not ask platforms to remove them or close storefronts unless the seller in question refused to comply with previous takedowns or continue to create infringing listing despite repeated takedowns, and we need to escalate. Sellers should be aware that different platforms have different rules when it comes to the consequences of takedowns, and they bear the full responsibility for these. So this is very interesting to me. I'm very curious to see how people respond to this. I have no reason to doubt what they are saying here, but the internet is going to turn around and have people who will say that X happened or Y happened or Z happened, and I'm curious to see which ones of those come forward. But basically what they're saying here is, look, if you got issued a takedown, it's your own fucking fault, and you fucked around and you found out. Like, they're saying that very politely, but that's essentially what they're saying. I know there was a big kerfuffle about people receiving takedowns and stuff like that, but it seems to be pretty clear here that Factory Fortress are saying if you got a takedown, you had ignored the process that was coming your way. Basically, it was polite. Literally, we do not ask platforms to remove them or close storefronts unless the seller in question refused to comply with previous takedowns or continue to create infringing listings. So they're being pretty clear there that they're trying to work with people as best they can. Nothing helps get a point across quite like some examples. Here are some hypothetical examples of creations that run afoul of the community license. We hope these make it even clearer which kinds of things are not acceptable use of our IP. We'll also make some of our favorite community creations. We'll also share some of our favorite community creations, my bad, all of which we think are great examples of the community license in action. Use of our official designs, as well as the case of the Maxillian class knight given above, the Goethic Warlock can provide a good example here. Up until very recently, we had not released an official STL sculpt of the Goethic Warlock, only the illustration and the rules were available. A number of sellers made their own sculpts of the Goethic Warlock that were almost exact copies of the Trench Crusade art. Please remember that directly copying our IP is never acceptable, whether we already offered models for it or not. However, other creators have made excellent alternative designs for the Goethic Warlock that are completely different from our art, and that is absolutely fine. A good example of this is this design by Creaturecaster, Hup the Lads. It is clearly meant to represent a Goethic Warlock, but is entirely different from our design. They even took the time to write some interesting backstory for the character. Yeah, they did. Your boy helped them. This sculpt is also a great example of good product naming practices. The term Goethic Warlock, any of our faction names, and the name Trench Crusade have not been used anywhere in the product description. This means that buyers can enjoy this excellent work without there being any confusion as to whether it is an official Trench Crusade miniature or not. It's fucking almost like the people at Creaturecaster are professionals who know what they're doing. Another example of what not to do would be creators who have adapted our designs into different styles. By this we mean taking one of our designs and altering it slightly to give it a different look. The mechanized heavy infantry has often been a victim of this. We have seen sellers taking the exact same model and modifying it slightly, thickening some armor plates, adding some embellishments, or different accessories, or making them slightly taller or broader. This is not permitted by the community license, and it is not an original creation. If a model is an adapted version of our design, then you have used our work as the base for your product. This is not allowed. Not only is it using our IP, models that look so similar to ours can be confusing for buyers. However, there have been some really creative imaginings of the mechanized heavy infantry. For example, this is from an upcoming release by Hollow Crown. I've had my eye on this. It's really nice. And their HMI definitely looks the part, but nobody can say that it can be confused with our design. 100% agreed. Like, that has a completely unique profile. It just does not look like their design. It looks so cool. Like, I've, definitely follow the Cruciform Order of St. George by Hollow Crown. It's going to be a really nice project. Along with making their own name for this warband, this version does not copy our IP or risk causing confusion for buyers. We hope that helps clarify what you can and can't do with Trench Crusade. If you're a creator and would like to read the full Trench Crusade community license, you can check it out here. Conclusion. We think this is an exciting new step in the evolution of Trench Crusade, and we hope you agree. We look forward to the weird and wonderful things that talented people of the community will bring to Trench Crusade. Okay, I think that's all pretty clear. They're basically saying, look, don't use the names of the units, don't use the names of the factions. They're not calling their factions Hell or Walmart here. Hell because it's way too generic. Walmart because somebody else owns Walmart, even if working in Walmart is like working in hell. I think they're being pretty upfront and open here about what they expect people to do, which is just not bite on their shit. Just create your own stuff, be inspired by what it is that they are doing by all means. Draw on your own personal experience, your own artistic endeavor, your own sources of inspiration, and make something unique within the universe. And they have absolutely no problem with that whatsoever. I mean, look at those Cruciform Order of St. George miniatures. They are fucking beautiful. Like, they're so clearly in every way. Like, I just want to say the word British. Like, they're perfect. And they're nothing like the range as it exists now. So I am desperate to get my hands on them. Okay, I'm not sure. I haven't looked at this at all yet. So let's see. The community license. There's going to be a lot of legalese here, folks. I don't know if we should read it, because it's going to be a tremendous amount of legalese. General rules, use of trademarks or logos. Let's have a look at these. So as to avoid any confusion between official and unofficial material, you are not allowed to use any of our trademarks or logos anywhere in your project or any elements related to it, including but not limited to, for things like advertising materials, social media accounts, web domains, internet search tags, or keywords. Makes sense. Unofficial content and representation. Please make it clear that your project is unofficial. Well, yeah. We are not allowed to state, imply, or give the impression that your project is official, affiliated with, endorsed by, approved by, or sponsored by Trench Crusade or Factory Fortress Inc. in any way, shape, or form. This includes statements and labels such as compatible with. Still have a kind of an issue with that. I think it would have been better to come up with, like, this is a really terrible example. I'm not saying this is what it should have been, but something that would have been completely outside normative use of the English language, such as in league with Trench Crusade or something, anything, like literally anything at all. A sentence that is almost so awkward to say or type or think or spell that nobody could have stumbled across it fucking accidentally, is what I'm trying to say here. The one exception to this will be allowed via the separate Trench Crusade compatible license as described below in section 2.3. Yeah. Like, it just... I still have kind of an issue there. I just think it's awkward. I think it's going to lead to some issues because of the uniform understanding of what the word compatible means. Like, it is what it is, though. Ultimately, you shouldn't really be using the word Trench Crusade at all. So that kind of solves it. Like, just don't say Trench Crusade. If you're trying to sell a desecrated saint model to somebody, you better believe your design language is good enough where they know what it is when they're looking at it, so you don't have to tell them. Otherwise, you're not making a very good product, basically. Okay. Please conspicuously add the following text when sharing your work. That's like the funniest use of the word conspicuously ever. It's like, put this shit in bold, fucknut. This project is an independent production and is not affiliated with or sponsored by Factory Fortress Inc. or Trench Crusade. I will remember that. That will be all over my shit, folks. Don't worry about it. You may not register copyrights, trademarks, patents, or other intellectual property. I don't have any intellect, so that's not a problem. Incorporating the Trench Crusade IP, and you may not submit takedowns, send cease and desists, or send any enforcement action for any projects. Alrighty. Look, this is there. Don't disparage us. We like a good ribbing and tongue-in-cheek humor as much as the next person, but we don't tolerate you creating anything that amounts to actual defamation or disparagement of any of our content that depicts Trench, or any other content that depicts Trench Crusade, Factory Fortress Inc., or any of our employees or members in a negative way. That's a pretty kind of a bog standard thing. They're asking you not to use AI art, which also makes sense because they don't. Like, people really need to figure out properly the difference between having an AI that checks a bunch of like indexing and tags on a store versus having an AI that makes the next like Aladdin movie and tries to make you watch it in the cinema. Like, these are two very different conversations, I guess. Ask first. We ask the creators, reach out first if they are in doubt as to the legality of their projects. There is an old saying that goes, it is better to ask for forgiveness than permission. This does not fly with us and could lead to us refusing a project we normally would have accepted. But you can contact us via the contact form on the website. Okay. I don't disagree with them there either. Just ask the question. This stuff should not be such a rush that if it takes a couple of weeks to get a reply back and then a couple of extra weeks to get like fully sorted as to what's what, that should be okay. I feel like your central element of your business should not be that somebody else has a successful product that you can sell stuff within. You know what I mean? You're setting yourself up for a fall there. Use of official designs, you may not use, but yeah. We've been through this. This is all just blah, blah, blah. Alrighty, the community license will be linked below if anybody wants to go through it. I will likely have a firm look tomorrow when it's not late and I'm not tired from working a full day. Also dope art in the background. But yeah, it's done. It's out now. This, in an ideal world, would have happened a very long time ago. I understand the reason why it was delayed. I've definitely seen some things. To be honest, I've seen some things occurring from some people within the community that really made me wonder if they were thinking clearly when they did the things that they did and then turned around and were like, oh shit, look, I copied this design fucking 1-1. That's not going to lead to a problem. So yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Are you happy that this is finally out? Does it impact you at all? Remember, ultimately, these third-party creations are now going to be the main course meal for 3D print folks. You know, this is going to be it. You're going to be looking for these. You're going to be wanting these. And them occurring quickly and efficiently and properly and not disappearing off the internet because somebody doped around, basically, is going to be very much in your interest. So, yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. Give me your thoughts. Look, thanks for watching. Hope you're having a really good one. Hope you're having a good start to the year. I know it's been a slow start on the channel, but there's been shit going down, so bear with me. All the best. Bye.